Alright, listen up. Before we dive into the chaos of Monster Hunter Wilds, I've got a little preamble for you. Despite what some of the whining reviewers are saying, crashes, frame rate hiccups, and other nonsense, I've clocked over 27 hours. In other words, I've beaten the tutorial in this game, with 3 of my buddies, and not one game-breaking bug or lag spike has come our way. Or any other issue, for that matter. However, there has been one isolated crash from a new player to our group. That is a new player that is just beginning the game. I don't know what his rig is, and it doesn't matter. My rig isn't some bargain bin PC either. I'm running a Ryzen 7 5700X 3D paired with a Hellhound OC Radeon 7800 XT and 32GB of RAM, plus a few other things I won't bore you with, but in short, if your hardware is half decent, your experience will likely be as smooth as a well-oiled death machine. Your mileage may vary though. Oh, and stop bitching about frame generation, because if you get over 60 frames without frame generation, you're not going to be noticing any lag with it on. It's just going to help smooth your experience. If you don't need it, don't use it. If what I said bothers you somehow, I don't give a shit. Now, let's talk about link parties, the in-game system that's about as clearly explained as a drunken riddle. For those of you who don't already know, link parties are essentially your individual friend groups, your party. You invite your buddies, and when one of you accepts a quest or finishes a cutscene during the story, the game automatically invites your party mates to join your session, provided they have already seen that particular story beat and meet other salary requirements like hunter rank and whatnot. It will also do the opposite for if your buddies are doing the same thing. Then, there's an environment link. You earn this a little bit later during the story after you've kind of earned the right to kind of roam around. And it works kind of like Expeditions did in Monster Hunter World. Say I'm roaming the desert zone and decide to initiate an environment link. My buddies are sucked into my world instance with my monsters, my weather, and my goddamn apocalypse in progress. It locks you all into that zone until you break the link and start fresh somewhere else. I'm still testing this out, but that's how it works so far from what I've seen. Alrighty. Now that the tech talk and the multiplayer mumbo-jumbo's out of the way, let's get into dumb shit. Monster Hunter Wilds is a brutal, beautiful, unfiltered rollercoaster where every hunt feels like a middle finger from nature itself. The game is not here to hold your hand, it's here to crush your pride, leave you bleeding, and then laugh at your expense. However, I'm talking about Monster Hunter World here. Monster Hunter Wilds feels a lot easier than Monster Hunter World did. And the reason for that, I think, is because this little shit has so much goddamn power in him, it's insane. He has every single item from World, so you don't have to go unlock it, and then you get upgrades for it as well. Plus, the AI seems to be better. If you want to rapidly increase the difficulty of the game, just leave your palico behind. That being said, the combat in this game is more fluid and feels better, in my opinion, than World. It's a masterclass in chaos, forcing you to adapt, improvise, and occasionally curse your own dumb decisions, because at the end of the day, if you fuck up, it's your fault. I've dabbled in all 14 weapons available. Yes, there's 14. You heard me right. I don't really mess with the bow guns very much. Or the bow, for that matter. I mostly end up feeling like a British lord who's sending volleys at a giant monstrosity in the false hope that I'm going to get something done.
Great Scott Lilix, there's a fiend in our midst. Have at the heathen, one volley.
All 14 weapons are viable. You can kill all the monsters in the game with them. I like the meaty clang of giving the monster brain hemorrhages while hitting with my hammer. If you want the Dungeons & Dragons Bard experience, just pull out the hunting horn and beat the lizard with a saxaboom, like Jack Blackwood. So let's quickly go over some pros and some cons. First off, I had a really smooth and immersive experience. The game looks gorgeous, and my rig handled this beast without a hitch, and the world feels raw and unpredictable. The layered and brutal combat is another thing I want to talk about. Each weapon offers a fresh and often chaotic way to carve through monsters until you inevitably screw up and pay for it in blood when you're learning something new. Speaking of the AI for monsters, the monster AI is just as good as it was in World. However, like I said, the difficulty of the game has kind of been toned down somewhat, but the AI is still very intelligent. They'll target you when you're using potions, they'll target you when you're trying to sharpen your weapon, but a lot of things have changed and the game feels slightly easier. Like I said, if you want a difficulty spike, you just put your palico away. Now let's get into some cons. First of all, the story is, I think, well written, but in my personal opinion, I don't think Monster Hunter needs a story. They did it, I understand why they did it, to bring it to a wider audience and have a cohesive story to bring more people in and give them that full, experience from a game. But Monster Hunter doesn't need it. You could literally just have world building by talking to NPCs optionally, or different clues and notes you can find throughout the world. You don't need that. I would rather have a seamless experience playing the game with my friends, and that's it. That being said, the narrative can be as thin as cheap parchment in certain places. You might as well be reading the back of a cereal box. Anybody who's played a Monster Hunter game knows where the story beat is heading. The very first, like, big bad monster that you end up fighting towards the end of the story is never the air quotes big bad. You always fight something later, and it's like a big air quotes spoiler. But every single person who's played Monster Hunter knows there's like an Elder Dragon or some bullshit waiting in the wing to really rock your shit. But in this one, they wanted to focus on things other than Elder Dragons, so they took it someplace else. So you'll see that as you play. Overall, the story is better than World, and the handler herself, the voice actress, and the dialogue, the actual writing for the handler was better in my opinion. I didn't want to immediately throw the handler into a giant pit of lava. And the final thing, as I mentioned previously, is the clunky, obscure multiplayer features. Link parties and environment links work. The in-game explanation is about as clear as mud. If you don't already know how it works and you're not already clear, you're going to need to wing it. And currently, as I'm recording, like trying to make a private lobby where you can have like 100 people in, just joining people's lobbies and quests and doing whatever you want. It isn't quite working making a private lobby. Every single time you try and make one, invite your buddies to it, it says there's an error and it can't be found. Don't know what's going on with that, but who knows? It could be fixed by the time you guys see this. So, in conclusion, is Monster Hunter a game I think you should sink your teeth into or pick up? Well, if you're after a Monster Hunter experience that feels familiar to you from World, I think you should. The story experience that was in World is a similar kind of thing, but it is improved. It's not as annoying. You can easily get back in with your friends. Your friends can join you whenever you guys have all seen the cutscene. It breaks you back up so you guys can watch the cutscene after you finish the mission. The story is about as engaging as Soggy Toast. However, it is better than World. And again, while some may whine about the how am I going to color this? The whining and bitching about crashes and choppy frame rates, my experience tells a different story. And again, a few of my other friends have also experienced that same situation where they haven't really experienced any issues. One person that has recently joined our hunting group has had an issue, and it hasn't happened since. So your mileage may vary, but I highly recommend you check out the game. With Title Update 1, they're adding in a gathering hub, they're adding new monsters, they're also increasing the difficulty, and they're adding a canteen, along with probably what's going to be a bunch of other stuff. In short, don't listen to the unwashed masses bitching that their toaster that they brought with them into the bathtub isn't working to run the game. There's a benchmark available, go test it for yourself. Try out all the different combinations with your system and see if it runs well. That being said, thank you for watching. Drop your Monster Hunting War stories in the comments below and maybe some advice stuff about the fellow new players that are coming to the game. YouTube stuff, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Have a good one.